So, if bread and butter pudding is one of the UK's best British puddings, but which one's best? Mum's traditional homemade bread and butter pudding, or a posh, snazzy restaurant bread and butter pudding? That's what we're going to find out today. You decide. Let's go. Hi and welcome back, I hope you're good. Bread and butter pudding has to be up there with one of the kings of British puddings. Created a couple of hundred years ago out of stale bread, it's kept the course of time and it's still up there as one of my favourites. Okay, for the kids, I'm going to make a nice little small one, a traditional one for them because I think that's what they're going to like. And I'm going to make the posh big one for the adults. Okay, so the traditional bread and butter pudding, we are going to take 10 slices of sandwich white shop brought bread. It can be stale, it can be fresh, I don't think it makes much difference. The first job is to remove the crust. I'm going to put 5 slices of bread on top of each other here, do half and half, then gently cut the crust off, holding the bread in place. Do that on all 4 sides. You can leave the crust on if you like, give it a bit of chew to the bread and butter pudding, but personally I like that kind of little fine finish. Don't throw the crust away, you can use these for breadcrumbs, so don't waste anything in the kitchen, there's always a use for something. Now I'm going to cut this bread in half on the angle, leaving with the triangles of the bread. Hold the bread in place like this again. Gently use the knife. Don't put any pressure, let the knife saw through the bread nice and gently. That way it won't snag the bread. And that's what we're looking for. Now you can use a pastry brush, but I'm just going to use my finger. Don't tell anyone in the family. And I'm just going to grease the bottom of the dish. I'm pretty sure this is what my mum used to do when I was a little kid. Nice and buttered. When I was a little kid, you get a little bit of caster sugar or granulated sugar probably, and then dust the bottom of the dish in sugar. This is going to form a little sweet crust around the bread and butter pudding as it cooks. Okay, now we're going to take each slice of bread and then give that a little butter as well, as it is bread and butter pudding. Nice layer of butter on each slice, and then we're going to put that into the dish and repeat. We're going to go in one direction first. Once the bottom's filled, next is the sultanas and some nutmeg. Okay, these are the homemade sultanas we made the other day. I've had them in a jar to dry out a little bit more. Okay, let's make some homemade sultanas. Okay, these are seedless black grapes. We're going to pick them off the stems and then we're going to wash them off before we put them into the oven. Or if you have a dehydrator at home, pop them in a dehydrator. These are going to go in an oven, 60°C for 7 to 8 hours. Obviously keep an eye on them. When they look like they're dehydrated, pull them out and they're ready to go. Okay, let's tip them onto the tray. Good job, give them a little shake so they're all laid out, they've done touching because they need to dry out. Perfect. Right, let's put these in the oven now for about 7 to 8 hours. Look at the size of these homemade sultanas. If you want to, soak them in booze overnight to give them that nice fat, plump, boozy kick when you put them in your bread and butter pudding. Whiskey, rum, kirsch, perfect for Christmas. So juicy when they're homemade, really good. They are going on top of the bread and butter pudding. All the sultanas are under the custard and under the bread so they don't burn as they're going through the oven. Okay, next up some ground nutmeg. Freshly grated if you got it, but I haven't. Start laying the bread in the opposite direction. Okay, now the bread's laid on there, one more dusting of nutmeg over the top, and another little quick dusting of sugar, which is going to help it crust up as it cooks. So now that's ready to be soaked in custard. Okay, so from now on, I'm going to call bread and butter pudding B&B. So that's my abbreviation. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'll put on my bloopers, but I think I've struggled to say bread and butter pudding about 400 times. So stay tuned to the end to watch that. Okay, now for the brioche bread and butter pudding. I have sliced the brioche. The brioche, we are not going to take the crust off. Right, so let's be consistent. We're going to butter this dish as well, the same as the last traditional one. But I'm not going to put the caster sugar in there. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, now let's put the brioche slices in. Okay, 1, 2, I don't know what I'm counting, 3. Okay, so once the first layer of buttered brioche is into the dish, we're next going to take a large orange and we're just going to zest the orange over the bread and butter. This is going to release the oils in the orange zest and give it a really nice orange flavour. And then next, before we put the top layer on, I'm just going to chop up some white chocolate. And white chocolate and orange work amazingly well with brioche as well. I'm going to leave it quite chunky because I want our little pockets of white chocolate as you cut into the pudding. If you want to get more kind of consistent taste of white chocolate through the actual pudding, you can melt the white chocolate in the milk and cream. Heat the milk and cream up, take it off the heat, then add the chocolate and let it naturally dissolve into the warm liquid. But me, I'm going to put big chunks of white chocolate. Like I said, I want pockets of white chocolate as I'm eating the pudding. Sprinkle that white chocolate onto the pudding. We're sprinkling on about 100 grams of white chocolate. And now to finish it with the top layer. Brioche is super soft bread, so it's going to really soak up those flavours. Looks good enough to eat already, though. So like I said, I'm going to double up the recipe for these 2 bread and butter puddings. I can't believe I can say it now, what's going on? These 2 bread and butter puddings, bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter, magic. When my mum used to make it, I think she used whole eggs, but I'm just going to use egg yolks just to get that kind of richer consistency to it. So we're going to need 16 eggs, and we're going to separate them now. So like I said, we don't waste anything in the kitchen, so we're going to keep the egg whites. We can use those for a meringue or a chocolate mousse. Egg whites are pretty safe these days because the eggs are pasteurised. So the egg whites are going to go in the fridge for another time. Right, let's whip the scales out. The sugar is going in next. Okay, we're going to add 350 grams, but like I said, this is a double recipe, so you'd only need 175 grams if you're doing a single bread and butter pudding. Right, 350, here we go. Okay, now we're going to whisk that till it's nice and creamed together to give the sugar and the yolks a really good beating together. Bought myself a new whisk and everything. Let me see if I can find my old whisk to show you why. I think you can see why I need a new whisk. Right, just going to whisk that till it's proper creamed together. Okay, now that's nice and creamed together, we are going to weigh out the milk and the double cream. Just want to share a lucky moment, I didn't check the recipe before I went to the shop and I need 600 mils. I only got 1 cream, but luckily, lo and behold, 600 mil. So after that, we don't really need to measure the cream out because we know it's exactly what we need. So that's 600 millilitres of double cream going in there in a thick bottom pan. You don't want it to burn, especially cream and milk, they burn really easily. Okay, but I do need to weigh out the milk. So we're going to 600 millilitres of milk. So that's equal quantities, milk and double cream. Okay, if you watched my rice pudding video last week, you saw that I used this, the vanilla paste, which has got vanilla seeds in it. About half the price of vanilla pods, so well worth getting. So we're going 1, 2 teaspoons of vanilla paste going into the milk and cream. Okay, next we are going to scald the cream and milk. I think this goes back to like pre-pasteurisation times when you have to scald milk and cream to make it safe. But it's the way we do it. We're going to heat the cream and milk up and then we're going to add that to the eggs and the sugar. And like I said, milk and cream can burn, so you want to keep an eye on this. Keep it moving every now and again. Okay, now the milk and cream and vanilla is hot, we are going to add that to the egg yolks and sugar. You need to whisk as you're adding the liquid so the eggs don't cook too fast. Nice and carefully, otherwise it might run over the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to use my clean hand, I'm just going to push that down because I want the bread to submerge underneath the bread and butter pudding. So now they're both soaking, we're going to leave those for about an hour to let the custard cool down. As it cools, it's going to absorb into the bread, so you want to leave that for about an hour to soak into the bread. If you want to, chuck it in the fridge overnight, let it soak overnight, still be good to go next day. Which gives me time to preheat the oven to 180°C or 350 Fahrenheit. Okay, now we're going to cook the bread and butter pudding in a water bath. Posh slang, a bain-marie. A bain-marie means water bath, and that's going to protect the eggs as the bread and butter cooks. You might think I've gone crazy, there's no water in the water bath. What we're going to do, we're going to put this into the oven and then add the water into the tray, and this makes it easier and stop the water spilling all over the bread and butter pudding. So here we go, cutting into the brioche bread and butter pudding. I think the best way to serve a bread and butter pudding is just to get a big serving spoon. Take a big scoop out like this. Look at that, wow. Okay, now for Mama's recipe of the homemade sultanas. Give it the same treatment. I almost want to dust it in icing sugar to get that dry. You could caramelise this like we did the rice pudding last week. You could get a blowtorch to it. Just lift her out. Some big plump sultanas. We lost a few. Okay, the taste test. Here we go. If only this kitchen had smell-o-vision. These two smell incredible. You have the brioche bread and butter pudding with orange and white chocolate, and you have my mum's classic traditional bread and butter pudding. Both look incredible, and I can't wait to taste them. Okay, if you like what you've seen so far, then please, if you could, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That way YouTube pushes it out to lots of people and everyone can enjoy this amazing bread and butter pudding sweetness. Let's dive in and taste. Look at those sultanas, wow. That's like a hot tub time machine in a bowl. That's like nostalgia. And when nostalgia is one of the main ingredients in your desserts, you know it's going to be good. That's whipping me back to the mid-90s when I was a little kid. Okay, we've seen it being made. Now let's enjoy some food porn. Cold winter's night, it's raining outside, it's dark, and there's a great big steaming bowl of bread and butter pudding right in front of you. Both bread and butters are really good. That's really indulgent, the brioche, it's really good, it's really rich, but light at the same time. My mum's though, that's just made me happy eating it. You choose, the recipe's going to be in the description. Make them both, do what I just did, make one at a time. They're both worth making. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments which one you think you like more, the traditional bread and butter pudding or the restaurant style orange chocolate and brioche bread and butter pudding. They're both amazing, they're both great. For me, it's got to be my mum's bread and butter pudding because it's just nostalgia in a bowl. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you in the next video. And if you love desserts and you want to carry on making some desserts or watch me making desserts, you have to watch this video next. Traditional bread and butter pudding. In the description, but which is better? Mum's homemade bread and butter. God, it's a tongue twister. Bread and butter pudding. If bread and butter pudding is one of the best desserts, then which one is best? Okay, so as we're going to make two different bread and butter pudding. Okay, so as we're going to make two different bread and one recipe for the restaurant bread and butter. God, give me loads of these.